Hey there, I am so excited to be here and welcome you to Social Media Marketing for Others, how to leverage your book to get clients before it's even published. Now, you might already be wondering how this is even possible or how you can do it in a way that doesn't feel icky, salesy, and all that junk. So there's good news. I am going to tell you exactly how. Plus, later on, I'm going to share my complete system for leveraging your book to make the legendary impact you're looking for, because this social media part that I'm sharing today is just one part of a four-part puzzle. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Vickie Gould. I'm also known as the Words Lady. I'm a marketing and book coach and publisher, and I like to be referred to as a legacy builder. In interviews, when I'm introduced, they talk about how I've helped 109 entrepreneurs from 4 continents, 14 countries, and 21 states become best selling authors. Sometimes they share, about how 100% of my authors become bestsellers within 24 hours of their launch or less. And other times they talk about how I've been featured in entrepreneur.com, Writer's Digest, Creative Pen, Thrive Global, HuffPost, and all that jazz. But what people don't realize when they first meet me is that behind all the smiles and energy that I have and the joking that I love to do, there was a time that I seriously contemplated suicide. And that time was back in 2009 when I was diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease. And if you don't know much about that, it's kind of like having MS, lupus, which I was misdiagnosed with, dementia, ALS, chronic fatigue, osteoarthritis. I even was diagnosed with vertigo and early onset perimenopause. You put that all together, and that is what Lyme disease is like. And I remember that day that the doctor, he just swirled around in his chair and he looked at me, he said, Vickie, you are not going to get better. Life is going to be this way for the rest of your life. You're going to need to suck it up and live with it. Okay, so he didn't exactly say suck it up, but he said, you're going to have to learn to live with it, because I kept bringing to him things that I wanted to try and all that stuff. He's like, nope, you need to learn to live with this. And I remember I went home and I called my sister and I said to her, you know what, if Lyme disease takes me, you've got to tell my kids what I was about, what I wanted to teach them. Because I was spending 16 to 18 hours in bed, too exhausted, too much in pain to do much of anything. And I remember my little guy, he would come up with his like chubby little cheeks, he'd look up at me from my bed and he would say, Mama, can you come to my school party? And I remember I would just look down at him and I would say, baby, Mama's just not up to it. I'm really sorry. He'd crawl into bed and I'd hug him, we'd watch TV, and I'd sit there and I'd wonder, does he really know how much it hurt my heart to tell him no? Does he really understand how much I wanted to say yes? Was he later on in life going to have therapy because I was not being a good mom, or at least I didn't feel like it? I felt like as a failure, as a mom, as a wife. I was watching my kids grow up by my side of the bed, with 16, 18 hours in bed. And at night, I would spend my time on the bathroom floor crying because I didn't want to wake my husband up. Now, the thing is that I really didn't want life to end, but I felt like there was no good life moving forward. I felt like I had squandered away my time. I was bitter about all the things that I hadn't done in life. And I thought, your time is gone. You had your chance. You missed it. And you're not going to be able to do anything else. But I remember there was something inside me that just kept saying, there's stuff that I want to do. I want to play with my grandchildren, not just look at them, but actually like get down and play with them one day on the kitchen floor or the living room, or to be able to go to the park and, throw the ball with them. I just didn't know how that was going to happen. And I remember thinking to myself, Vickie, you got to figure this thing out. I figured out so many things in my life. Why can't I figure this thing out? And I remember I started reading books. I remember reading books about people with Crohn's disease or cancer, or people who had other incurable diseases. And they defied what their doctors said. Their doctors had said, there's no hope, there's no cure, there's no protocol. But somehow they figured it out. And it was because of those books that I started to figure things out on my own. I tried things that I didn't always tell my doctor, and I started to get better. I became a master herbalist in the process, and lo and behold, the good days started to outweigh the bad. And I realized through this process that without those books, without the stories, without these people, and me feeling like there was somebody in my corner who understood, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be out there helping other people with books, helping other people to get their stories out, because that's why stories are so important to me now. I know that they have the ability to inspire, to motivate, to share a journey with people, to teach people things, to transform lives. And that's why it's so important now for me to help other entrepreneurs to write stories that share those journeys, that share their expertise and turn them into best selling books that grow their reach, create more impact and legacy. They're able to touch people that they've never touched before, wouldn't be able to touch before, because they're now reaching around the world. And then they're able to take those people and turn them into clients. That's why books are so important to me. I mean, I read the whole entire library when I was in elementary school too. So I've always had a love for books, but then even more so as I went through my Lyme disease journey. And that is why I also say that the books that people write, they create legendary impact. And again, I'm going to go through a whole entire formula on my fame formula for legendary impact, but let's dig into, first of all, what you came for. Social media marketing for authors on how to build your book to get clients before it's even published. You might be thinking, most of the time people think they're going to write their book, and then after the book is out, that is when it's going to do all this work to get them clients. But you don't have to wait. So first we're going to go through how to let the marketing for your book do double duty to get you clients for your business. So you're going to be marketing for your book and you're going to get clients at the same time. Like, what could be better, right? And then what one method is going to help you attract the most followers and fans. And then thirdly, the biggest promotion mistake authors make that lead to a launch flop. We want to avoid that, okay? And this is where you want to go grab some paper and pen, because I'm going to be just throwing down some nuggets that you don't want to miss, okay? Now, you need to know first that what I'm sharing comes from the vantage point of helping entrepreneurs who write books to grow their business. I generally help online business service providers, coaches, and consultants to use books to grow their business and get more clients. So this may apply to fiction authors as well, or people who write memoirs, but my experience has been with nonfiction writers, right? My clients are looking to use their book as marketing tools, which leads their readers to buy programs and services. They're not about selling thousands upon thousands of books every month. So if you're in a different genre than my clients, my methods may still work and I still want you to hang in there, but I'm especially talking to those who want to write books for their business, not as their business, if you know what I mean. So there was an article that I wrote for Writer's Digest that kind of showed the difference between these two distinctions, the author and what I call the author entrepreneur. So an author is generally somebody, probably like a fiction author, right? Somebody like J.K. Rowling or James Patterson, who writes a lot of books, and they write a lot of books and they sell a lot of books, and this is their income, this is their job, this is their main thing that they do, and they do it all the time. They're just selling books. An author entrepreneur is somebody who is an entrepreneur first, but happens to have a book that is used to grow their credibility, boost their expert status, help them gain more visibility, help them rise in their niche, but their business is not the book. You get what I'm saying? The business is a program or a service or something else that they have. It's just the book is somewhat of a lead in to get people curious, to get that speed of the know, like, and trust to go faster, so that that book is a piece of a bigger picture. So, do you know which one you are? I mainly deal with the author entrepreneurs. Okay, so now you know the difference. Let's talk about that first thing, how to let the marketing for your book do double duty to get you clients for your business while you're writing it. Okay, so way too often, I think, like I said before, people think that they are going to have to finish this book and then they're going to go get clients. So the book is the project. After I'm done, I can go get clients. But this is not true at all. People who get clients while writing their books, though, they did not do this by accident. It's not a fluke. It's just that maybe you don't hear about it happening as often because people are generally not strategic about their marketing. It's not inherent in most people, it's not intuitive for most people, and a lot of people are just plain scared about marketing, right? But the great thing is that it can be learned, and it's not something that has to be icky, gross, or salesy, and all that stuff that we said before. Now, the less of a following or community that you have, the more runway you're going to need to promote your book. So that's just kind of an aside. But why do my clients get to bestseller within the first 24 hours? And usually it's like a lot less. Sometimes it's like within 2 or 3 hours. It's because they've been talking about their book for a while they write it, right? So often I meet people who want to write their book in this little bubble. And maybe you're afraid of what people might think. Maybe you're afraid to announce it. Maybe you're afraid you won't finish, so you don't want to tell anybody. Maybe you're not sure how to promote your book, so you just don't do anything at all. Maybe you're using the see what happens method, which, by the way, rarely works out very well. And if you have a business, you want to make sure that you have aligned your book to your business, meaning you want your book to be an experience that the reader doesn't want to end, so that they self select, they raise their hand, and they want to get into that next step with you. It needs to be like the Disney experience. That's what I say. So when you think about Disney, what happens, right? What is Disney really selling? They're selling tickets, right? They're selling you a ticket, but what are they really selling you? They're selling an experience. They're selling memories. They're selling fun and joy, right? And that's something that those people who go to Disney, they want to talk about it. They tell your friends, they're like, oh my gosh, you need to go to it too. This was an amazing ride. Let's do it again. And they want to repeat, right? And this is all explained in my 5S system on how to put your book together. But we can't go into that right at the moment. But what you do need to know is that your book must be aligned, and it must be written with your story and expertise into an experience that the reader does not want to end. And that's how you get the client in the next step, right? But we're talking about the step before. You want to ask yourself, will the reader want to join my program or get my services after they're done reading my book? This is the outcome you're looking for. There may be a different transformation or outcome for the reader, maybe slightly, but for you, this is one of the reasons you're writing your book. So you need to connect the two, your book and your business. It needs to just make sense. Okay. Now that you've done that, it will come more naturally to having your marketing efforts for your book result in clients before you even have the thing written. And as a side note, I want to say that for those of you who think that your memoir is a good thing to write to align to your business, it doesn't work that well. You need to have your story. So that, like, I'm sold out for stories. Stories are really important. They have to be in the book. It is critical. It's one of the 5 S's that I mentioned before, but a memoir does not fully align with the thing that you're selling in your business. So while you need to share your story, a memoir is actually the enemy in this situation. You want to write a book that is aligned to your business, that is the logical next step or prior step, the step before people getting into your programs and services. All right. So you want to make sure that the efforts for your book result in clients before you even have the whole thing written. In fact, I did a 3-day mini course where one of the stretch challenges that I told people was to post on social media. I gave them 3 templates to choose from and told them to go write about the book that they haven't even penned one word of. It was a fun little exercise. There were people who were terrified, but one of the ladies, Allison, she was just blown away. She did the one post using my guidelines and she got 190 or 189 reactions and over 100 comments. People were already wanting to know when they could buy the book. And these were also great leads for her program for widows because these people were raising their hands saying they needed help now. And when people need help now, they're interested in your book, but they don't necessarily always want to wait for you. You get what I'm saying? Another one of my clients told me that social media didn't work for her. She was like, this thing doesn't work. I've never gotten much out of it. People don't comment, blah, blah, blah. They're not interested. But she said, you know what? I'm going to be a good student. I'm going to do what you say. And I know that sounds like maybe I'm bossy, but I'm not bossy. I swear I'm not bossy like that. I just know that my methods work and I encouraged her because I want you to win, right? So she put out on social media a post sharing part of a story in her book and then some other tidbits. And she had at least 3 out of the people who commented, it was more than 3 people that commented, but 3 people reached out because they wanted to be clients. That can be you too. Her book was not even finished yet. So now you're probably going, okay, so what did they do? Okay, it's broken down into 3 different types of social media posts. Okay, so the first type of social media post is the behind the scenes. Over 80% of the population wants to write a book. So they love watching the process of other people doing it. They're inspired. So share where, why, all of those things about your writing. Where's your favorite spot? Why is this topic important to you? Why do you want to share this with people? When you write, how do you get in the mood? Like all of those things that are behind the scenes. Take snapshots about like the window that you love, your office space, how you find the time, where's the most peaceful thing, just all different things about the behind the scenes. Share your thoughts about that and the things that you're doing. People really get into it. Number 2, polls. Here's another another thing people love. They love to give their opinions. And not that you necessarily want or need them, because here's the thing you need to remember. Please don't do this. When people give you their opinions, don't all of a sudden go, oh my gosh, I need to change this or I need to change that because one stinking person said it. No, that's not what polls are for. It's a way to get engagement and tell people what things you're going to be talking about inside your book, right? Then you know who's already needing help in these areas. They're going to give you feedback. They're going to give you their opinions, right? My client wrote a book about financial literacy and investing in real estate. We were already partway through the book, but we knew all the chapters and what would be included in them. So we asked people, here are the 5 things, that are topics. Do these interest you or all of the above? We already knew that those topics would be in the book. And so now these people are excited that those topics are in there and they're raising their hands and saying, that's great, that's great. And maybe they're adding some more things. And that is also showing where people are asking for more information and more help, right? The whole point of the social media posts here is for people to indicate and to raise their hands and for you to know who should be on your hit list, in essence, right? So we asked people to give their opinions on what they want to see the books from the chapters we are already writing, and that got immediate interest. And like I said, more people raising their hands as prospects, potential prospects. The third type of social media post in this part that we're talking about is stories. People love to hear the story of why you're writing your book. In business, right? People buy your why, and it's applicable here. Who you want to help and why it's important to you. Kind of like what we kind of talked about before, right? They also love to hear the stories that might be inside your book. So you got to craft these social media posts as storytelling posts, but don't give everything away. Now, if you're talking about your why, you definitely want to give that away, right? You want to tell them why. But if you're sharing stories from inside your book, don't tell them all of it. Just tell them part of it. Leave them with a cliffhanger, kind of like, movie trailers that get you excited and interested about a movie. Or like the last episode of the season of your favorite TV show. I don't know why they always have to blow something up in the shows that I watch, but they blow stuff up and you're like, oh my gosh, who survived? And you gotta wait until the next season to find out. That's what you want to do. Leave them with a cliffhanger. It gets them excited, it gets them eager for when your book comes out to find out the rest. And in that same book that I mentioned about real estate before, we shared little tidbits of nightmare renters, but we didn't tell them the end of the story. People wanted to know what happened. And they, I promise you, will start commenting. And again, great prospects. Great prospects for you. Now, you also can't let these posts, these 3 types of posts that I shared, do everything. It's not completely magic. Sometimes you'll get the people reaching directly out to you, like my client had, but many times you may need to reach out to these people and continue the conversation in Facebook Messenger. I know, I just freaked somebody out by saying that you have to continue the conversation in Messenger, but don't be afraid to do that. It's not supposed to feel icky, salesy, forced, or gross, okay? Which leads to the next piece. What one method will attract the most followers and fans? What do you think that one method is? I don't know that it's really a method per se. It is your confidence. And when you pair that confidence with a level of excitement that you are sold out about your process, the transformation that you give people, that is going to create followers and fans. We touched on the fact that people buy your why. The other thing that people buy is your confidence. And you need to be excited about all of that. I remember I was doing that 3-day course, right? The mini course that I was talking about, and one of the things that I offered was a bonus Q&A session with me after the course was over. I remember saying to my coach at the time, I was like, I don't know how to make this Q&A very exciting. Like, it doesn't even sound exciting to me. Like, why would somebody want to show up to a Q&A? That doesn't sound like fun. And she was like, oh my gosh, Vickie, you need to get more excited. You need to be more confident that this is something that people need, so that when you talk about it, your confidence and excitement sells them into showing up. And that's exactly what you need to do too. You need to be the most excited person ever when it comes to talking about your book and the transformation that it promises. Because yes, you're making a promise, and that transformation is tied to the transformation that you're offering in your services, in your programs, in your packages. And the more you talk about it, the more people will see that you aren't just writing a book, you actually help people with the same thing, whether it's finances, romances, relationship, business building, leadership, HR, marketing, coaching, whatever it is. You have to be completely sold out for it. And because then your book, which is aligned to your business, that gets you clients. That will get you clients while you're writing it. Now you might be saying, okay, Vickie, I need a little bit more direction. Give me some templates. Tell me what to say. And this is what I want to say to you. When you use templates, and yes, I do give them to my clients for some things. When you use templates, even with those, you need to put your own personality and your own angle into things. You need to be yourself, right? Or else you end up being awkward, and that's when it feels icky and sleazy, and you don't want to be a weird creeper, especially if you're going to, as my daughter says, I'm supposed to not say pop into people's DMs. I'm supposed to say slide into people's DMs so that I'm cool. So when you slide into people's DMs, you want to make sure you're not a weird creeper. And how do you do that? You be yourself. You be excited. You be confident. So if someone comments on your post, you pop into their messenger, you slide into their DMs and ask them a follow-up question. Leave it open-ended, not a yes or no, so you can keep the conversation going. Maybe you just tell them you appreciate the love that they shared about your post, or that you appreciated their comment. Then you ask them a follow-up question. And if it's appropriate, you have to feel into this if it's appropriate, because it's not always appropriate. Sometimes what's appropriate at that time is creating the connection and relationship that you're going to continue and follow through with and continue to keep contact with them, right? And if it's appropriate, if it's the right time, and you have to trust yourself about this, then you transition into asking them if they're seriously looking for help in this area and want to talk to you about how you can help. But you've got to set the relationship first before you can jump into the, hey, you want to talk about it and get into my program? You have to create the connection. They have to feel like you care about them first. And so you don't want to, right off the bat, just go, hey, here's my calendar. Let's set up some time to talk, unless it's appropriate. And there are times that it's appropriate. So for the 20 zillion potential ways that this could show up, the biggest gift I can tell you right now is that you need to trust yourself in feeling into what's appropriate at the time. Okay? Now, let's get into the final thing before we talk about my complete system for leveraging your book for legendary impact. All right, number 3. What is the biggest promotional mistake authors make that lead to a launch flop? Now, you might have guessed it by now with what I've already been sharing, and that is that they wait until it's been published before they do anything at all. That means that they have made the same mistake that I made with my first book. I thought, since it was a great topic and people needed it, I was like, oh, Amazon's going to clue in and realize that it's amazing. And then they're going to promote the book for me, just like that. Yep, that's what I thought. I was naive, and I thought it's just going to start selling, just like that. At that point, I didn't know the statistics that 70,000 books come out every month. Talk about getting lost in the feed, right? Then after a while of it not working, yeah, that's what happened to me, then that's when people start asking the question about promotion. Now, it's not that it's ever too late to promote your book, but you've lost out on some of the momentum of the release and the launch and the newness of it coming out, right? It's always more exciting when something's new. People are always more geeked up when it's new, even if it's like, it's the new version. They're always more excited about new things, right? You've also got to, remember that this time that we've already talked about, right? You're losing out on impact, reach, growth, and clients if you wait until your book is published and you're waiting for something to happen and waiting for something to happen. Like, you have to help it along its way. This is also known as the wing it method, which leads to that book flop. People get enchanted because they get unexcited. Like, they were excited when they hit published, or even nervous, right? Or maybe they're thinking big things are going to happen. But a book is like any other tool that you might have. This just happens to be a marketing tool. The ultimate marketing tool is what I think it is. And you have to have a plan to make it work, right? It's kind of like, you have a hammer. It's a great tool. It's probably in everybody's toolbox. It's essential for building projects, for, any type of like building thing, right? A desk or a house or whatever. But the thing is, you got to pick the hammer up and use it before it can actually make anything. It can't create anything. It won't just, pick up and do it for you. And that's the same thing with your book. You have to pick it up and do something, help it along. It's a tool, and it's not going to just grow arms and legs and do it for you. Now that you know better, and you can't unknow what I shared with you, so now you'll do better, right? You'll do better than what I did with my first book, for sure. And now I have 10 best-selling books, and everybody who's been a client, who's written their book, has gotten to bestseller. I use my 30-day launch plan with my clients, but you have to start while you're writing it. My clients don't start the 30-day launch plan after it's published. We start it before it's published, because that is the critical, crucial time that you have to do it, right? You don't want to leave it up to chance. Okay? So let's just make a vow right now with each other. No more wing it strategies. No more let's see what might happen strategies. Can we do that? Yes? Okay. So, I did not forget that I promised to share the system that I have, and it's called FAME. It's the FAME formula for legendary impact. And the social media part that I just shared is one part of this 4-part puzzle. But where does it fit in, you might be asking? Okay, so let me share the whole layout of the FAME formula for legendary impact. But here's what you need to know. And I said it before, the book is never the project. As you see, marketing is a big piece, but even with that, the project is not complete. In a way, the project kind of keeps going on. You just need to keep using your book as a tool forever. You get to write that book one time and you monetize it forever if you do it right. Does that sound good? Yeah, okay. So let me share exactly what FAME, F-A-M-E, in the FAME formula for legendary impact means. Okay? So here's a stool that my son made me on his 3D printer. And on top is the book, and then there are these 3 legs. And this whole thing spells out the word FAME. So the first one is, let me find it, is following. So this is kind of what we've been talking about today, where you want to grow your following before you write your book. You need to be growing it as you're writing your book. You need to launch it and market it during that time. And then you want to continue growing your following after your launch as well. Like, this following piece is a never ending thing so long as you're in business, because you always want to get more people into your community, right? You want to get more eyeballs on your book. So that's what F is. Okay. A is authoring. So this is where what I was telling you about, I have a 5S system on the things that you need to put inside your book so that it becomes that experience, that Disney experience like I was talking about, right? You want to write the right book for your business so that it works and it does the job and it takes those people from this point A to point B, which means that they need your programs and your services. But you've got to write the book in the right way, right? So that's A, write it like an experience. M is multiplying. So this is where you might take your book and turn it into a course, or you're going to create a funnel, what I call the consistent client cash machine, and you start automating when people are buying the book that they are then funneling into your system, and then, just booking strategy calls with you or buying programs and things like that. So that's what you're doing in M for multiplying. And then E is for elevating. So this is where you're going to use your bestseller status and you're going to use it to get those things that my clients have, which is like interviews, media, podcasts, features on TV, stuff like that. You're elevating your bestseller status. You're using that credibility and authority boost to open doors of opportunities in other places, right? So that's where you get the whole entire FAME formula and it becomes this stool. Now, what happens if you miss part of it? So let's say social media, you got freaked out by, I don't want to post, whatever, and you just get rid of this F for following. What happens? Now you put the stool down and it falls over. It can't stand up. Your book is unable to stand up. What happens if you take these other pieces off? We're going to take E off. We're going to take the M off. What happens? And this is unfortunately what happens for most people is they just have a book and it's a nice book. It's a nice read, but it's not doing anything for their business. And this is where books die a slow death on the shelf under a layer of a dust because it does not have the supporting pieces. When you have the supporting pieces for your book, what happens to this stool? This 3-legged stool is very, very sturdy and it doesn't fall over. You don't have the book flop because you have all the pieces of the whole entire project. And that is what the whole FAME formula for legendary impact is all about, right? Some of you might be thinking now, like, wow, now I really finally get this whole book thing. I see how this fits into my business, and I also see how I need to up the urgency of writing my book. Some of you might be like, oh my gosh, yikes, this feels like a lot. Don't worry if that's you. You don't have to do it all at once. It's inch by inch, it's a cinch, as one of my clients says all the time. Remember, you have the opportunity with your book to change the lives of people all around the world. Those people need your book. In fact, there are people who can't fulfill their own purpose in the world because part of their journey is that you are meant to cross paths with them with your book. So if you don't have it out there yet, make sure that you get it out, right? You can have the influence that my clients are enjoying, like stages, yes, even virtually, getting invited to speak on TV, even virtually, getting interviewed for magazines and podcasts, launching programs based on their books, selling out programs because of their books, getting corporate like consulting gigs because they're best-selling authors, being asked to be on summits and retreats and all that and so much more. They're making a huge impact because we've gone and we've written their book in a way that creates the experience, that gives them that intro step so that those people will want to become clients. We've created a way for them to be on social media, to grow their following and grow their reach, so that then they can go and multiply and they can have the E for elevating and get everything. So they have all four pieces, FAME. And that's how they're making that huge impact. They created a big vision on how they were going to use their book in their business, and they didn't let that dream like slip out of their hands because of procrastination or time or excuses or fears or the what ifs. They knew that they have a purpose to transform people's lives by sharing their own story, journey, and expertise. Now, I love closing things out with quotes and things like that, especially if anything has that I've shared with you sounds scary today, or if you're uncomfortable about social media and leveraging it for your books and clients and you don't want to be that person, then this is for you. All right? By Marianne Williamson, she says, our greatest fear is it is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. I hope you've enjoyed our time together, and I hope to see you around. Okay.